Alright guys, how's it going? Welcome back. Today I'm in this 2013 Mercedes SLK. This is known as the R172 model, which ran from 2011 until 2020. The Mercedes SLK has been around since 1996, but in 2016, for reasons which still remain unclear, it had a rebrand and it became known as the SLC. That was until 2020 when Mercedes decided to shelve the SLK model altogether. Presumably that's because nowadays everybody wants some sort of grey electric crossover. And that's a bit of a shame, because if you want a small convertible, you have got plenty of choice. But if you want one that's very easy to live with, well built, and one with a prestigious badge, then your options slim right down. Let's be honest at this point, there's no point kidding each other. The most appealing thing about the SLK is, and has always been, the badge. It has the big three-pointed star of success. It's a status symbol. That's the main reason people buy these, I'm sure of it. You certainly wouldn't buy an SLK for its sporty drive, because it's nowhere near as fun as a BMW Z4 or a Porsche Boxster or a Mazda MX-5. So that rules out the SLK if you're planning to buy one of these just as some sort of Sunday toy. But, and here's the good news by the way, if you're planning to buy one of these as your only car and use it every day, then I think they're better than the rest. You see, the BMW Z4 and the Porsche Boxster have a very firm ride, which means if you're planning to use your car every single day to go to the supermarket or to the post office, it will irritate you and wear you down. I should know, I've tried to do this personally, and after a couple of weeks or months you get so fed up with them that you end up selling them and buying something more comfortable. The SLK on the other hand doesn't wear you down. It'd be a nice easy car to get along with. The seats are very soft, and although it's a small car, there's plenty of space to get comfortable with, even if you're Dutch. If you do lots of motorway miles, it's alright too. I'm sat here now at the speed limit, and it is a horrible day. I picked possibly the worst day to film with a convertible. And it's still fairly quiet. You can hear a little bit of road noise and wind noise, but it's got a metal roof, well, metal and glass roof, which does a good job at insulating the outside noises. And it also comes with a host of nice features which will help to make your life that little bit more pleasurable. I think the actual design of the interior is very tasteful and timeless. I love the air vents, and I love the brushed aluminium. I really like this era of Mercedes, you know. You get a proper button for everything, rather than fiddly, stupid controls. Although I have to point out the infotainment screen is tiny. You will have to squint and possibly need some binoculars for that. I like all the red contrast stitching that you find on the steering wheel and the door cards. It gives a suggestion of speed and performance, one which, to be honest, the 2.1 litre turbo diesel engine can't really back up. Still, it makes it feel sporty. And look at the guard's red seat belts, very Porsche-esque. And I like the glass roof. It helps make the interior feel much brighter and lighter and airy. And there's storage everywhere, which is really handy in a small car like this. You can tell this is a car that Mercedes have worked on for decades. They've really put some thought into it. You get a place up here for your sunglasses, you get storage in the door pockets, you get an ashtray, you get more storage here, which I imagine you could use as a cup holder. I haven't read the owner's manual, but I imagine there's no rules against it. Saying that, it's a German car, isn't it? So there probably are rules against it. You get lots more storage under this centre armrest, with a USB port too. I've noticed the stereo is pretty good, and something I like about it is that it separates the FM from the DAB stations, because where I live, you just can't pick up DAB stations. And on newer Mercedes, they merge them all into one, so you spend half your time flicking through countless stations that you just can't get. It's really annoying. But with this era of Mercedes, thankfully, they're all separate. It also comes with Bluetooth streaming and Bluetooth hands-free, which is essential in a car that you're planning to use every day. I'm also a fan of the steering wheel. It feels very sporty, it's the right sort of size and thickness, and you get paddle shifters behind the steering wheel, which is handy if you want to take over from the 7-speed auto box. I also like the fact that the soft leather seats are heated, and you get this wind scarf, which is great. What's not so great is that it's an optional extra, so if you're in the market for an SLK, I would definitely try and hunt one down with that air scarf. You can thank me later. I've noticed while I've been driving this today with the radio off while I talk to you guys, there are quite a few squeaks and rattles coming from the roof. You can't hear them with the stereo on, but with the stereo off, they are a bit annoying. Something else that I don't like is the fact that I haven't got electronically operated seats, the manual, which just irritate me. Why can't they give me a neat little button to operate the seat with, rather than some big, clumsy Victorian lever? One more thing that I do like though is the fact that they've concealed the controls for the roof behind this nice leather pad. They've turned a simple boring switch into a gadget. And everyone likes a gadget, don't they? The boot space isn't bad at 335 litres when the roof's up. That decreases to 225 litres with the roof down. Still, it's a 35 litre improvement over the last model. In real life terms, it just means that you can still have your weekend bags under the roof. Perfect. Heading outside, I think the styling's very good too. It's sporty, classy, elegant. From the front, so don't laugh when I say this, I think it's very SLS. It's definitely a design that will stand the test of time. I love the simplicity. From the rear, I like the twin exhausts, I like the rear lights. Looks very good. Side on, I think it sits very well. The proportions are good. The wheels fit in the wheel arches well. It doesn't look as though it's riding on casters. I do like the look of these AMG wheels. They look like they mean business. The AMG badge, on the other hand, I'm not so much of a fan of. I think that's definitely an eBay special. Under the bonnet of this one is the venerable old 2.1 litre turbo diesel engine, which I think Carl Benz invented himself back in the late 1800s. It's been around forever. It may be economical. You'll average around 40 miles per gallon. It may also be cheap to tax. This one only costs £155 a year. But it's coarse and loud, and it doesn't suit the car very well. To be fair, with the radio on and the roof down, you barely notice it, but sat here in silence, it's all you can hear. I know I've frequently said this over the years, but I just don't understand diesel convertibles. Why ruin a sports car with the engine from an old tugboat? It just doesn't make sense to me. But I think with the SLK, it's actually the other way around. You see, the SLK isn't really a sports car. It might look like one. Your neighbours might think it's one, but it isn't. What it is a posh, well-built, economical little car that you can use every single day, but when the sky is blue and the sun's shining, you can drop the roof. You know what it's like yourself, when you sat in traffic on one of those rare days where it's 23 degrees and the sun's shining, it'd be nice to be in a car that you could suddenly ditch the roof on. That means you've got a good solid car for 350 days of the year, and then you've got a convertible for those 15 days of the year, rather than having to put up with an uncomfortable sports car for 350 days of the year just so you can enjoy those 15. Do you know what I mean? The SLK with its clever folding metal roof is designed for UK weather. I know I've just criticised this engine for being a bit gruff, but the figures are quite impressive. It produces 204 horsepower. It's got a 0 to 60 time of 6.7 seconds, so it is no slouch. I can assure you of that. That feels quick, actually. It's got a top speed of 150 miles an hour. Again, it might be a good match for this car, you know. If you're up and down the motorway, this will provide plenty of torque for overtaking. If you prefer more thrills, there are some different engines available. There's even a V8. I'd describe the ride as being very good for this kind of car. I mean, it's a small little two-seat roadster with a short wheelbase, so never at any point do you think that you're in an S-Class Mercedes. What else can I tell you? Visibility is good, looking forward. From the back, not so much. And this particular model doesn't have rear parking sensors. So I found the best thing to do in this is to reverse very slowly with the windows down. That way you can hear out for any screams or the sound of broken glass. Luckily it isn't a big car to negotiate, but it would be nice with rear sensors. Speaking of screams, reliability wise there shouldn't be any. They're quite reliable cars, these. The gearboxes are very reliable as long as you service them every 80, 90, 100,000 miles. This being a diesel, you might have issues with the EGR valve, the DPF, the turbo. But the best way to counter that is service it on time, use premium fuel, and take it for a good blast down the motorway a few times a month. This thing really does fly, you know. That's a proper surprise. Used prices here in the UK start at around £9,000, but that's going to get you an early high mileage example. You'll have to spend around £12,000 if you want one with sensible miles. For one like this that's only done 45,000 miles in a good colour, with good history, with good options, I expect to spend another couple of grand on top of that. When you compare that to a Z4 or a Porsche Boxster, it starts to look like great value. I mean, the equivalent Boxster would be twice the price of this. One more thing to mention about SLK ownership, you will soon tire of all the lame, worn-out jokes people make about you being a hairdresser or about your sexuality. They're about as funny as finding a floater in a swimming pool. The thing to remember about the people that make these jokes is that they will without doubt drive a Citroën Zara Picasso, and they'll still think that 3/4 length trousers are acceptable. So take what they say with a pinch of salt. They honestly don't know what they're talking about. This is a sensible car that you can use every day, but still enjoy when the sun's out. Please don't buy an SLK expecting it to be some thrilling, hair-raising sports car, because you'll just be bitterly disappointed. The best way to think of this car though is to view it as a two-seat convertible C-Class rather than a proper sports car. Sadly, because of dwindling sales figures, Mercedes discontinued the SLK back in 2020, which I think is a great shame. I mean, what are those customers going to buy now instead? So thank you once again for watching. Make sure you give the video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't done already. You can follow me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. I'll leave the link below. If you've got any comments or questions, let me know below and I'll do my best to get back to you. So yeah, cheers guys. I'll see you next time.